For the better part of a decade, the biggest player in the entire cloud game had one very clear, very loud message. But in a move that really signals the end of an era, Amazon Web Services has finally changed its tune. So let's break down this massive strategy shift and what it really means for the future of the cloud.
You see, AWS built its entire empire on a pretty simple premise. As businesses were all rushing to the cloud, Amazon basically offered this straightforward path, a one-stop shop for absolutely everything you could possibly need. And their advice? It was consistent, and boy was it powerful. And this was the dogma. Just go all in on AWS, they'd say. It's simpler, it's safer, you get to avoid all the messy, complicated stuff that comes with using other clouds. And you know what? It was a really compelling pitch. For a long time, a ton of companies bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. But that simplicity, well, it came with a pretty big hidden cost.
To really get what that cost looks like, let's look at a real-world example. It's kind of a cautionary tale, really, about a major financial services firm that took AWS's advice and ended up paying the price.
So about a decade ago, this firm went all in on AWS. They were chasing that dream of simplicity. But you know how it goes. As the years rolled by, things got messy. New compliance rules popped up, technology evolved, and new market demands came along that AWS just wasn't the best fit for. And the result? Well, they were completely cornered. They were stuck in what we call vendor lock-in, they were overspending on services that weren't really right for them, and they were just watching from the sidelines as their competitors were innovating using other clouds.
And look, this story wasn't a one-off, which really makes you wonder, right? Why on earth did AWS resist the whole multi-cloud reality for so long? I mean, they had their official reasons, of course, but the truth? Well, the truth might be a little more self-serving.
Just look at the contrast here between the public message and the business reality. It's pretty stark. AWS was out there warning customers that going multi-cloud would mean higher costs, a ton of added complexity, and major security risks. But, as the source material really digs into, the real drivers were probably a lot simpler. Market control, ensuring vendor lock-in, and, well, self-preservation. When you run everything on AWS, their bottom line gets a nice boost. But your innovation, not so much.
And this line from the source material just illustrates the problem perfectly. This whole single vendor dogma meant that real companies with all their unique and complicated needs were being told to basically force their operations into a box that just didn't fit.
So, yeah, while AWS was busy selling these round holes, its smartest, most forward-thinking customers, they realized they needed a totally different approach. They weren't waiting around for permission, they were already charting a different course. And it was all based on a fundamental truth about modern tech.
They were practicing what's called a best-of-breed philosophy, and it's a really simple but incredibly powerful idea. Instead of committing to one single vendor for absolutely everything, you choose the absolute best tool for each specific job you need to get done. Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice? Well, think of it this way. A company might use AWS for its incredible elastic compute. That's basically just raw, scalable processing power on demand. But then they'd turn to Google Cloud for its world-class AI and machine learning. And they'd use Microsoft Azure for its super powerful data analytics. See? You're not limited by one vendor, you're empowered by the best of all of them.
And the advantages here are absolutely huge. By picking the best tool for the job, you can optimize your performance, you can meet very specific compliance needs, and you can control your costs way more effectively. You end up building an architecture that is just fundamentally more resilient. And maybe the most important part? You align your technology directly with your business goals, not the goals of your cloud vendor. You're back in the driver's seat.
So you've got the world's most successful companies already living in this best-of-breed reality. And finally, after years and years of resistance, the pressure from customers just got to be too great for even the biggest cloud provider to ignore. The giant finally gave in. Now, to really appreciate just how big of a deal this change is, you have to remember how painful it used to be to build a multi-cloud setup. I mean, because the big providers didn't want you to connect, doing it yourself was a total nightmare. It meant these complex patchwork solutions, third-party networking tools, and security setups that could take weeks or even months to build. It was a massive headache for companies.
And then, in a landmark announcement in late 2025, everything just changed.
They unveiled something called AWS Interconnect-multicloud. And look, this isn't some minor feature. This is a brand new service that provides direct, high-speed, private connections from AWS to other major cloud providers. They're starting with Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure is next. They're finally building bridges instead of walls.
You remember that whole painful process I was just talking about? The one that used to take weeks or months of complex engineering? Well, now it's been reduced to a single click in the AWS console. This number, 1, it represents a monumental leap in simplicity and accessibility. It's a total game changer.
So what does this shift truly mean? Because this isn't just some technical update. No, this is a philosophical one. It changes the entire landscape for everyone, leveling the playing field and putting a whole lot more power back in the hands of the customer.
Think about it. This move is a profound admission from the market leader. It's basically AWS acknowledging that its smartest customers, the ones who have been demanding flexibility and fighting for this for years, were right all along. Multi-cloud isn't just some passing trend. It's the future.
And this really sums up the new reality perfectly. The whole idea of a single provider owning your entire digital world is over. The best, most innovative, most resilient architectures are, by definition, multi-cloud. Period.
So yeah, the argument is officially over. The era of the single cloud is closed. And after a decade of fighting it, even the biggest name in the game is finally on board, embracing the multi-cloud future.
What this really does is tear down the artificial barriers that have been holding back innovation for years. It puts the power right back where it belongs, in the hands of the builders. So, I guess the only question left is the one you see right here. Now that the walls are down, what will you build?